According to the document dates, Pullman not only was looking for footage that might contain a suspect vehicle from the businesses in the area, but they also seemed to have had a full-on suspect before the internal Bolo was even technically sent to them from Moscow PD. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Alrighty, so you guys know that I've gotten 3 drops so far when it comes to information incoming from Pullman, the city of Pullman, and there's been some information from WSU in these documents as well. Now, when I'm done doing a full-on review of everything that we've gotten so far, I am going to have a Google Drive link open to the public, not just members only like some of my other documents are, but to the public so that you guys can go in and take a look at these yourselves. Now, the first thing that I want to show you guys is the Bolo dates when it comes to the information that they have in these email correspondence when it has to do with getting footage from businesses and, again, this full-on suspect. Now, obviously nothing ever came from this certain suspect, and it looks like this person's car was black. So again, it's interesting that they were sort of looking for people and trying to see like who was suspicious, who could be responsible, but they really didn't have a lot of information because technically, once they saw that this guy's car was black, they would have just not bothered with him. But instead, they continued until they got this Bolo. So I wanted to show you guys these dates and a little bit of the emails that were sort of going back and forth. So here you have an email from Friday, November 25th, 2022 at around 2 p.m. And it says, according to Moscow PD/FBI, we are looking for a 2012 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra that is light colored, white, tan, or silver. Please Bolo for that vehicle. Do not run the plates through Whitcomb. Run it through your MDC. Do not discuss what you are doing over the radio. Do not ask Whitcomb to do anything regarding this matter. Keep track of what you find. Sergeant Engel has been assigned as the Pullman PD liaison with Moscow PD. Relay all information through him. Do not discuss or disseminate this information with anyone outside this building. So instantly, they're wanting to keep everything super hush-hush. They even don't want them talking about this over their police radios. They don't want this to be heard by literally anyone, which instantly to me is pretty sketchy. Because if you're looking for a vehicle, why aren't you corresponding with each other through the radio? Why aren't you running plates through Whitcomb? I'm not really quite understanding why they chose to handle it this way. Now, this was like 9 hours later at almost 11 p.m., the same date, Friday, November 25th, 2022. Now, they instantly go into a way to organize everything. This is talking about how to store surveillance video. It says here, could you coordinate day shift and swing shift officers search for video during downtime? We are using an app in the city's GIS system to track where we have already looked and the results. What I would like to know is what you're technically looking for here. Because again, this guy that they were looking at had a black vehicle, and they talked about him several times, talked about sightings of him several times in these emails. But then as soon as I saw the pictures of his vehicle, I was like, why are we talking about this? So it really makes me wonder, on the 25th, what other communications had they already received? Because here in a minute, you're going to see the exact date that Brett Payne sent over ISP's internal Bolo to Pullman. This states at the bottom, we are looking for video that could depict our suspect vehicle on arterials between 11:06 and 11:14. I am hoping the store managers will just upload the video straight to fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. If they can't figure that out, I can pass along a thumb drive. WSU PD is covering their area. I covered most of Maine today and will get the rest tomorrow. I could use help with Bishop South and west of Pro Mall, as well as all of Grand, except Mobile and Texaco. Those are gas stations. As long as officers are using the survey tool, I don't need to know what got covered. I'll just check the map. If needed, officers can tell the managers/owners that they are helping Moscow by trying to preserve any videos that could be useful to them. So it kind of seems like they don't really have a target. They're sort of just going in and seeing if there's certain fragments of time that can be saved. But why are you looking in Pullman? If at this point in time you have no idea which direction Moscow is actually looking, if at this point in time Moscow did not know the direction they were actually looking, if at this point in time the DNA was still being looked at, everything was still no answers. Okay, this is weeks before Othram would send the DNA information back and it would be sent over to the FBI. That happened on December the 10th. Then it wasn't until December the 19th that Moscow PD got the call with Bryan Kohberger's name. So what are they looking for? Why are they looking in Pullman whenever this happened in Moscow? What were they actually told that is obviously being kept from the public? Now, as you guys saw, that was the 25th of November, right before 11 p.m. The very top of this one has a date of November 28th, 2022 at around 8:40 in the morning. And as you can see, it says they now believe the vehicle to not just be 2012 to 2013, but to be 2011 to 2013. So the car got older, not newer, which is interesting. But this is what I want to show you. Brett Payne sent this email on Sunday, November 27th at 1:46 p.m., 2 days after everything that I just read to you up until now, okay? Homicide update and Bolo. All. I wanted to update everyone on the current progress of the investigation. We know everyone is chomping at the bit to get in and help, and rightly so. We wanted to share what info we have to keep everyone in the loop and up to date on things to watch for. Also, we are always open to new ideas. Please let me know if you have anything you think ought to be tried. Lastly, this may not be all of the info, but it's the most pertinent to where we are currently. Now remember, this is an update. This is an update. And what we have heard so far from both Chief Fry and Chief Jenkins is that Pullman did not help Moscow. Fry wanted to keep things hush-hush instantly before he even got back to Moscow from his little road trip that day. And Chief Jenkins said he found it really, really strange that Chief Fry, all of a sudden, after dozens and dozens of cases being worked together, he didn't want their help instantly. So when did the help start? Because this is, again, an update. And all of this back and forth condescending information isn't cute, and I'm really just so beyond tired of it. This info is law enforcement sensitive. Do not distribute. This email is only going out to MPD, Pullman PD, and WSU PD. The attached flyer is extremely sensitive and must not be shared outside of your agency. Why just those three departments? What did you know on November 27th? What did you know? Why are you not telling the public what you knew on November 27th? Because that is weeks before December the 19th. The vehicle in the flyer is of interest to MPD investigations. However, you must understand you are ordered to not stop, detain, or contact the driver unless it is a life or death emergency. If you observed a similar vehicle to the one in the flyer, please gather the license plate number as discreetly as possible and communicate that information via phone, MDC, or email only. Call the ISP number on the flyer to report these vehicles in order to keep the flow of information consistent. Now, again, in that original email, it said according to MPD/FBI. Now, this Bolo actually was released from Idaho State Police. Do not air any of this information over the radio, which again, I find interesting because if y'all are supposed to be working together, why are y'all not using the police radio? Please contact me or Sergeant Darren Gilbertson with ISP with questions. Since the initial phase of the investigation, we have learned the following. So this would be sort of the information that was placed into the PCA. That's part of that living document that Payne talked about in some of the hearings, one of the hearings. Actually, it's been mentioned several times, but this would be what they had before they knew anything about Kohberger. All of the residents returned home by approximately 0200 on 11/13/22. Now in the PCA, that jumps back 15 minutes, and they say around 1:45. Ever since we heard from the reports that Bethany really said something around like 2 a.m., and now this says something about 2 a.m., I still find it interesting that in the PCA and in all of the other information, it's 1:45, 1:45, 1:45, even though the Goncalveses were able to go in and find the timestamp to be 1:56 for Maddie and Kaylee. Now, again, once we get to like the 2:10ish a.m., whenever Dylan is contacting the private driver that brought Kaylee and Maddie home that night for honestly who knows freaking what, right? At that point, we're being told by Judge Hippler that Xana and Ethan were not even home yet. So keep all of that in mind when it comes to these timestamps. You have to keep in mind everything that we do know so far because this is old information. At approximately 3:30, a vehicle of interest, the one in the Bolo, arrives in the area via Steiner to Louder to Taylor and begins to drive laps around the victim's home. The vehicle approaches on Taylor, makes a loop through King and Queen, then leaves on Willenta. It then begins to make short loops between Paradise Drive and Willenta, each time making a lap through King Queen. During this time, at approximately 4 a.m., a DoorDash driver drops off food at 1122 King Road. Upon interviewing this driver, she told us she saw a male in a 4-door sedan drive right next to her as she was walking in search of the address and leave the King Queen area. What we heard from her interview report was that it was a tan sedan. And the guy inside of it had on a white colored shirt, and he was either like a red-headed gingerish kind of hair, or it was more blonde. That's what we got from the report when it comes to Molly, the DoorDash driver. The DoorDash driver leaves, and then the suspicious vehicle returns to the King Queen loop. The vehicle apparently stops somewhere on the loop, we suspect at the southwest upper lot behind 1122 King Road at approximately 0408 hours, so 4:08 a.m. And this is, again, apparently, which is not a definite, and suspect, which is they don't actually know. The camera on 1112 King Road captures audio of what sounds like a struggle coming from 1122 King Road at approximately 4:17, which is the big timestamp we've had since the beginning. At approximately 4:20, the suspicious vehicle exits King Queen, driving very fast, and leaves via Willenta. This is the last time this vehicle is caught on any camera we have, so it's likely, not certain, the vehicle exited off Conestoga, west of West Palouse River Drive. Again, this has never changed. The PCA itself says, there's nothing on the camera footage off to the left, so even though there's no camera footage off to the right either, it has to be the right, just by simple deduction, which, that makes no actual sense whatsoever. We are confident whoever is in this vehicle is at bare minimum heavily involved in what took place. That being so, the fact we are looking for this vehicle is critical to the investigation. Please follow the instructions on the Bolo and do not tell anyone what we are looking for or why or air anything on the radio. In addition, we are awaiting numerous lab results which could provide crucial results. We have heavily vetted each of the people directly linked to the victims and are now actively sifting through thousands of leads, gigs worth of data, and hundreds of interviews. You did not heavily vet anyone, sir. You literally cleared people within 3 days. How is that heavily vetting anyone? Go lie somewhere else with your old shiny old head. Numerous search results have been served to include 2 on an apartment at 500 Queen Road. That would be Jack Showalter's apartment that had quite a bit of blood on the inside of it in the bathroom, smeared on things. Very, very strange. Please keep an eye out for the vehicle in the Bolo, especially as students return. We are fairly certain of the vehicle we are looking for, per the FBI specialists who do such things. We're fairly certain of it, even though we didn't do any of the work and we're taking somebody else's word for it, but we're certain. I'm sorry. No plate info is known as of right now, meaning they don't have any proof it doesn't have a plate. And as we've gone over, and I'm not going to show it again, but the videos are still up there, and I'm not the only one who talked about this. In the still shot of suspect vehicle 1 that was given to us in one of the reports about the make and model that was given to us from the state themselves, if you zoom in, there is a rectangular something in the front of that car. And there's only one thing in the front of the vehicle that makes that shape in the position that it would have been. And that's a freaking license plate. And we also need to remember that Brett Payne already testified on the stand and said that living document didn't say a damn thing about the vehicle not having a plate until after they had Kohberger's name. So it was a detail that wasn't even a detail, something that wasn't real, something that they weren't even looking at, that they decided to make a thing when it really wasn't after they had a name that made it convenient, even though it's technically not true. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. Stay safe and happy hunting. Payne. Now, this is the Idaho State Police Bolo. Law enforcement sensitive, do not disturb. Vehicle of interest, white 2011 to 2013, Hyundai Elantra 4-door, unknown plate. If a vehicle matching the description is located, obtain the plate only. Do not air over the radio. Call ISP at this number right here. And again, we have these stock photos. So again, I would like to know who was giving them information about the vehicle and things before this came out, because they definitely said, oh, 2012 to 2013. And then whenever this came out, they were like, oh, now it's a 2011 to 2013. So why were we not being told that they were helping? Why are they pretending like they weren't? So then we go all the way to Thursday, December the 8th, 2022. And that's whenever they start discussing how the day before that, on the 7th, Moscow PD finally started asking the community for help. We've seen this. We all have this one right here, very deep down in our memories. Now, when it comes to them having like another suspect in their mind, again, this guy had a black car. He was a homeless guy that had been arrested in September for carving a heart into a tree at a park. And apparently this guy's mother like wrote a book about him. His name is Stephen Hain, Hain. I don't know any other information about this guy. I will end up probably putting the information for him together in a separate video so that it's all very subject specific, but I have to be super careful because this is somebody's personal information. Now, apparently, when it comes to this book that was written by this guy's mom, the police officer in the email is stating that he has a copy of this book. The whole thing is interesting in itself, like regardless of this person being involved in anything at all, this relationship that he has with the police, to where in the emails they're like, oh, he saw me and he just stared me down, his typical behavior. It's just one of those things. And then on top of that, there's a whole book about this guy. It's interesting in itself. I will have to say that. But that's it for this so far. I just wanted to show you guys the dates when it came to their correspondence regarding what they were looking for, what they were doing in order to look for it, and then how we did have the date from Moscow about the Bolo. So considering that the FBI apparently was involved in the 2012-2013 thing, MPD had ISP send out the other one for the 2011 to 2013. There's just too many chiefs here, and everything is just getting all misconstrued and messed up. Because again, we have Chief Fry and Chief Jenkins saying there was no help. We didn't get anything. All of a sudden, after being told, no, we don't need your help, Chief Jenkins gets, called over to Moscow, by Chief Fry, and he didn't know anything about anything apparently until December the 20th. This all kind of says different, especially since we know that WSU was involved in this information. It literally states Moscow, Pullman, and WSU only. So I'll ask again, what did they know by November the 27th to where only these 3 departments were getting this information? Because that is weeks before they give Moscow PD Bryan Kohberger's name. So let me know what you guys are thinking about this down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.